It's the Polo Podcast.
Hi guys, Andrew, Polo Reef. Welcome, Julian Sprung.
Hello. Very good to be here again, Andy.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes, it has.
Construction site last time, right?
That's right. I was here when the tank was empty, but you had a lot of the equipment and everything
Yeah.
all set up in the bottom. And
Yeah, so it was only 6 years after that. Probably.
yeah, finally you get to hear.
Yeah.
Now it's grown in a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Julian, frankly, this is a podcast that I have difficulty with because there's so much to talk about,
Yeah.
so much history. We could start with his history. We could do the books, and I mean, this is the man that I think I spent more hours on the toilet bowl reading Volume 1 and Volume 3.
That's the best.
That's where I
place.
learned from.
The best place. You have to digest
Right,
all that
right,
material.
Right. Okay,
Yes.
Steve. All right. I knew him when he had long hair. I knew him
Yeah.
when he started his company and invented basically the phos band reactor and then a lot of other products since.
Yes. Yeah.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
And we can talk about clams. We can talk about your pond. We can talk about where you see the hobby going. We can talk about new products that you're working on. And so I'll let you choose the direction, and then we'll just.
Oh, come on. You gave Chad wonderful questions. You ask me anything you
All
want.
right.
I don't even know where to begin, but yeah.
Let's start with an article we wrote, which is Why Are Clams Dying?
Oh, okay.
All right. You have kept clams in your pond, in your saltwater
Yes.
pond, and out of nowhere, whammo, and they go down like dominoes.
Yeah, dominoes is a good description because
I've had the same thing happen
yes.
when they're tightly packed and something goes wrong with one, and then it just.
Yeah, I mean, a good comparison is when you're keeping a population of fish.
And then they velvet or something.
Yes, cryptocaryon or velvet, and you introduce that fish that brings it in and stresses the tank out.
Mostly wild ones,
Yeah,
right? As opposed
right.
to cultured.
Right,
But the wild
so-
ones are what's so beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
I look at the cultured ones from biota and stuff. Doesn't make me want to have clams.
Oh, I disagree. I
think
think
so?
there's a lot of beautiful cultured ones. If you ever, if you go diving and you look at clams in the
I'm
wild.
going to Tahiti, by the way, in
Oh,
August.
yeah,
It's
you're gonna see lots of
it's
wonderful
insane.
maximas.
Yeah.
But in any case, even when you're looking in the wild, there's real beautiful gems, but then there's sort of plain ones.
Right.
So that happens in culture as well.
Right,
There's the
right.
really special ones and
Right.
and the A grade, B grade, C
Right,
grade.
yes.
But yeah, you can get wonderful, beautiful clams cultured. I would say that generally the cultured ones are safer than the wild caught ones.
course.
You have fewer pathogens with them. But
You once said quarantine your clams.
yeah, you have
And
to.
I said quarantine them from what?
Right.
How do I know what
Yeah,
What
and
am I treating it with?
It's
What-
a challenge because when you quarantine fish, there are certain diseases we know and we can
and
treat
the life
them.
and the life cycle?
Right.
We know.
We know what to do, and we have medication.
Medications, right.
Whereas with clams, they're invertebrates, so the medicines that work for treating fish are going to just kill the clams.
Correct.
So quarantine for clams is more about just holding them in a separate system for a long period of time to make sure that they're not bringing in something that's rapidly lethal.
Right.
Conditioning them, making sure they're really healthy. There are some symptoms. Hi, yes, you want to be in this podcast
Yes, she
too.
does.
There are some symptoms that you can look for. There's some larger pathogens like the snails,
Sure.
pyramidellid
Sure,
snails. All of
sure.
these things you know. But then there are the microscopic ones that you don't see
Right.
that suddenly cause a problem. And
All
I
of a sudden,
think-
the mantle just literally shrivels down.
Right, and those generally are bacteria. And so the only recourse that you
Antibiotics,
have
you
are
think?
antibiotics. And my hunch is that these bacteria are ubiquitous, that we have them in
our
everything,
system- in our
systems. And
Sometimes they go down and sometimes they
yeah,
don't.
they become virulent for some reason and nobody knows. Another possibility that is rolling around in my head. I don't know if it is the cause. Most of us for our aquariums use herbivorous snails.
Yes.
And so we don't really think about it. Usually we don't. It's you buy the snail and you put it in the tank.
Yeah.
Rarely do you quarantine them. So when I recently had the domino effect in my pond, I did buy some herbivorous snails and I did hold them for about 3 weeks. I didn't treat them with anything.
Right.
And
3 weeks is a little short.
yeah,
Little.
it probably was. In any case, the domino.
We're actually
yeah.
did the clams in this 900.
Yes.
We're going to hold them 6 weeks before I put fish in.
Okay.
With no fish.
Okay.
I think the 6 weeks is fair, is good
Well,
enough.
and what I'm referring to is on the snails. So
Right.
you're referring to the snails there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. In any case, it probably was too short, but I can tell you that the domino effect happened not long after I added some snails
That's
to the
very
pond.
interesting.
So, they are two events that happened close in time. I really don't know whether that was it, but it had me thinking
about it.
perhaps. So, I mean, snails and clams are both mollusks, and a pathogen could easily transfer. So it's something to bear in mind that the quarantine of clams should really extend to all invertebrates. If you're trying to keep a clam tank, you may introduce something harmful to the clams with any invertebrate that you add to the tank. So you have to be a bit obsessive compulsive if you want to have many clams.
It is
in
a
a
very
tank.
difficult
Yes,
task to have a loaded clam tank.
it is. It really is. It's building up House of Cards.
It's a house of cards.
Right, and
You pull the wrong one out.
boom, down it goes. And I know that, but it's still so tempting
So
to do it because they're so.
tempting.
How can you beat a clam garden that you're looking at it each a different color thing?
I don't know, but that I mean
It's-
we're going to do 4.0 next
Yeah,
time.
but with great care.
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah.
They're precious. After
I almost
losing,
wish
yeah,
there was a protocol where you throw some let them sit in a moxie for like
There could be.
I'll treat the whole quarantine tank or
there
something.
could be. I mean, the people who have clam farms, they do have treatment protocols, and whether they would share them or whether they say, yeah, this works most of the time. Not it's
In Tahiti, they just keep them out in the ocean.
of course. I mean, there they are out in the sea.
Right.
And if one dies, okay, there's more.
Yeah.
But for an aquarium, it's your pet. It's family, and it's precious. You don't want to lose
It
it.
does seem like the gigas are the ones that always hang in there the most.
They are the most resistant, but I even lost those to that condition. And when the bacteria attack, it's very sudden. You get a slight little bit something's off, and within hours, then the mantle is pulling, and once that happens, you cannot save
It's
them.
over.
When there's something slightly off at that point, if you treat them with amoxicillin, you can
have a shot.
save them. Yes, and yeah, if
We don't know how many days of amoxicillin.
I
we
don't-
don't know the dosage
and multiple
and
follow-up
multiple
treatment.
followings. And we
And
don't know
then-
whether it should be a bath or it should be like
Yeah.
full-time treatment yet.
Well, when I did it, it was a 15-minute bath.
right, probably wasn't
And-
long enough.
Well, no, it worked. I was able to save a clam that way, but then a couple of months later,
Got it
lost
again.
So then the thing is, do you need multiple follow-up treatments? The answer is probably yes. And then the pathogen that you're eliminating, is that pathogen just ubiquitous in anybody's tank? So you're putting them back in the tank, and then the question is, what makes it virulent? Who knows?
I mean, maybe if it's,
It would be-
if it's attached to a system like this, which
Yeah.
it was, maybe I should be closing that system off and throwing in
Yeah.
Amoxia Cipro like once a month, and
Well-
it's almost like a preventative.
Okay. Well, I don't recommend that. I don't think that's the idea. And I have subsequently, I had this happen not just in my pond, but in another aquarium. And just for curiosity, I bought some more clams and put them in the other aquarium. No problems. So it's not something like
Goes away kind of for a little bit.
it does. So I don't think that treating the system is necessarily
The answer.
the answer. No, the first thing to do would have a really qualified veterinarian when you have this to be able to get samples when that clam is pulling that mantle in. Okay, you're going to find
right in the beginning,
right then.
and compare it to a healthy clam,
Right,
and see exactly if there is a bacteria or not.
Well, it's there. There is a bacteria because it's sensitive to antibiotics.
Right.
Okay, what is it? Is it something that's common, or maybe just when it becomes virulent like that, it's taking over? It's the one that's most common and it's doing something bad. That has to be done. Until then, we don't know.
That's on our docket. We have a vet working for us twice a week.
Hey.
You know, Dr. Alex Hall.
Okay, yeah.
And he's great with this.
So you need to reproduce the problem again in a
Exactly.
small system.
Hopefully
And he has
not
to
bad as that problem.
Well, no, but just have it isolated in a system.
Must have lost $80,000 of clams.
Yeah, easily could happen. And that's only 3 clams.
3 of John's clams.
Right, no, stop. Yeah. Anyway, but they are precious. Aside from money, they're beautiful, and it would be great to solve that and come up with a protocol so that we know how to prevent that going forward. That'll save a lot of clams.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Wonderful. So,
And you don't think
Yeah.
it has to do with the dissolved oxygen
No.
and
No,
the
no,
dissolved
no, no.
nitrogen
No,
and
no.
running big skimmers as opposed to bio balls
No.
in the old days and degassing? You don't think it's that?
any problem with disease you can tie to any number of things, okay? But I've, and of course, when whether it's fish, corals, clams dying, if the conditions in the tank are subpar, you can try to say, okay, the thing was stressed from that. But when things are just fine and then this problem occurs, as in the first time I saw it,
Happened to Sanjay too, right?
yeah. Oh, we've all seen it. And if you have a tank, I mean, not a tank that's just a clam tank, but if you have a reef tank and you've got 4, 5, 6 clams
Right.
in it, and one clam dies after you've had it 2, 3, 5 years, whatever, you kind of go, darn the luck.
Right.
But, okay.
Right.
But then if you started with 6 and one dies, a week later, another one dies. That's when you know you've got
Something.
the problem.
Right.
And the water quality is great. Everything is
Right,
great.
right.
And all the other, and here's where it kills you, is because all the other clams look perfect.
Yep.
They're happy, mantle's out, color's good. There's no indication of a problem, and they go one at a time. That whatever it is about this bacterial thing is just super frustrating, because that's the way it goes.
It's the
They
way-
don't all die all of a sudden. It's because the conditions are good, but the pathogen just takes them out, whichever one is weakened at that point.
Well, I hope
Yeah.
we will, as soon as my clam tank gets cleared out and it stops
Yeah.
being a utility tank,
Yeah.
we will try again. I did make some changes.
Yeah.
I put some T5s, some broadband
Yeah.
daylight bulbs
Broad
on there,
spectrum.
so it's
Yeah.
not just as blue.
Yeah.
A little more sun replication.
You know, the clams are adaptable
Yeah, I know.
to different, the shallow
I
water
kept-
sun is the beautiful
I kept
look.
changing bulbs. And the more you change, the more you whack them out more, right? Because maybe it's too blue. Or I had radiums on them. I didn't know what to do.
Well, look, clams like Crocea and Maxima tend to be in more shallow water. But Maxima goes to fairly good depth,
yeah.
So and they adapt really well.
Yeah.
Noe is like Maxima; you find it from the shallows to
Right.
deep. Crocea is pretty shallow,
Yeah, they need more a little.
a little bit, but they're very hardy, so they
Yeah.
adapt very well. Gygus is fairly shallow, although I've seen adults 60 feet
Yeah.
down easily. Durasa similarly.
Right.
So
They die last, the races.
yeah. Squamosa's fairly
Not
hardy,
bad. Not
hardy
bad.
as well.
Not bad, yeah.
And among my favorites. What I like about Squamosa is how lush and fat the mantle
I
is.
love the blue squamosa.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
and that I lost my blue Squamosa in the pond.
So
It
have you
was,
replaced the clams in the pond?
I was able to get. I don't have any clams in the pond right now. I'm holding them in a couple of separate systems right now. I was able to get another blue squamosa. I saw that there was a farm that sent some to the U.S. and I got one.
Cultured or
cultured?
Cultured. Yep.
Yeah. And I had started that blue squamosa from a small one like that, and it was big and beautiful, and that was the last one that I was able to save. That was the one that I treated with antibiotics, saved it, and then a couple months later it went down.
Something we definitely need to be done in this hobby to understand that what's going on.
But enough sad news with clams.
All right, we'll move off that subject because they're just so beautiful and so difficult, and it's so heartbreaking when everything is going well and then boom.
Well, this is true, whether it's fish, corals, or clams. A living reef aquarium is a complex ecosystem. And
that's why it's off balance sheet and a perishable.
Right. That's right. We don't want to know. Right. So
doesn't go on the J.P. Morgan balance sheet because of that.
Yeah. Yes. But also, I think it's important to point out that we can do all the testing we want, and that really does at least let us know that things are where they should be. But despite all the testing and all the computer and control and everything, it's still a biological system. And there really is no way to absolutely 100% control the biology all the time with so many living organisms. It's the same way in nature. And
then there's the human error.
Yeah.
Like a button gets stuck. Did you hear what I overdosed alkalinity with the Neptune
that on
thing?
Facebook. Yeah.
Because there was salt creep around the button.
Yeah.
And I mean, the
mechanics and salt water, electronics and salt water.
I mean, so it dosed 5 gallons instead of 3,000 milliliters.
Yes.
And I had a spike, and nothing died.
Things look good.
Nothing died.
Things look good.
Yeah.
So it helps to have a very, very big system.
Yes, if that would have happened in a smaller system, forget it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not sure you would have had a 5-gallon bucket.
It wouldn't have been so much. Yeah, you wouldn't have that big of a reservoir. Right. Correct.
All right. So let's talk about your company.
Yeah. Two Little Fishies.
Yeah. What's happening? What's new?
Well, I'm always working on new things.
Yep.
Doing the trade shows and all does interrupt my flow on that.
Not only do you do that, but you also go on a lot of dive trips.
Yeah,
with the boys. You do.
I did get to do that recently.
Yeah.
But about Two Little Fishies, I mean, something that we'll see at Reefapalooza, we're partnering with an Italian company called GNC that makes an LED lighting fixture or luminaire called a Blu-ray X and Blu-ray XM. So we'll be showing that as a new thing. Stop by, Two Little Fishies at
I told you there's another competitor out there with a similar product that will also be showing their product, which we saw yesterday.
Well, good. Well,
we
have a look at these things.
We need as many light sources as we can.
Right.
So this will be a LED blue, violet, and white light.
Yeah,
combined.
it's a full spectrum, including the UV with a heat sink that handles the heat, so there's no fans required.
Right.
It makes it a slightly larger fixture, and it's waterproof.
Right.
You don't have issues.
Drop it in the water. Got to send it off. Bye-bye.
And because no fan, it's quiet, totally silent.
That's great.
And you put your hand on it, doesn't get hot, so it maintains the LEDs at the right temperature.
Very good.
And the spectrum is beautiful. When you look at the corals fluorescing,
and
the pigments are gorgeous.
And the app is nice and easy to control.
Nice app to control. Plus, it has features now to promote coral spawning, so you can have a moon cycle as well as you can set it to the sun cycle wherever you're located, geolocated.
Right. The issue, I thought about doing the spawning in here, and the issue was the stray light. People
Yeah.
live down here. I have
Right.
bedrooms and
Right.
and
That does affect
I mean,
the,
what am I gonna do? Gonna put curtains around this tank? I mean, it's just
Well, if you were setting up a farm and you
Right,
wanted
you
to-
would.
you would have the
Right.
stray light blocked
Right.
out. But this is a display aquarium
Right.
for your enjoyment.
Right.
You may still get coral spawning
Yeah.
if you program the
Yeah.
lights properly.
one looks at the surface.
Right, right. Have that little bit of moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus the photo period needs
Yeah.
to be keyed in, and temperature. All
So
of these
you have a
things.
moon cycle on there,
Yes.
and that's very cool.
Yeah.
So
So that's
you're
that's
gonna
new.
get in the lighting business.
By partnership.
By partnership.
Okay. It wasn't something that I was looking at getting into, directly personally.
Right.
But chances are we will be doing manufacturing. They're currently made in Italy.
Oh.
But since we'll be partnering with them and we have a facility where we do manufacturing, there's a good chance that we'll be able to do that there.
What else?
The other stuff I would tell you, but we're not quite ready yet. So there's a couple of little things, little tweaks, like, for example, the nanomag. I mean, nanomag is probably too small for this system, but
We use the Mighty Mag number 18, the ones
yeah.
that like kill you.
incredible. Yeah, but I'll be showing the almost finished prototype of modification to nanomag. It's a little bit stronger and even more durable than the latest iteration of it. Yeah.
Are you of the mind that the next frontier is the biome and the bacteria and that's like we got these ICPs and trace elements down now.
Right.
Whether it be moonshine or a fauna, whether you want to keep them high, medium, or low, but as long as they're we got that down now, right? Pretty much.
Well, I would not say that we have the trace elements down yet. I think that's still in a bit of what's the word? Marketing flux.
Which ones are
Yeah.
important and which ones are
Right.
not, and vice versa.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
I think
yeah.
there needs to be a little bit more research in it, but I think the coral farmers and very avid hobbyists know certain key elements that have been
Right.
important for them. I see that as coming to a conclusive end soon.
Right.
But the microbes, the microbiology of our systems is still in the dark ages.
Right.
And it has been all along. I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And are you of the belief that many the dinoflagellates group, the fact that it's actually a dino group,
Yeah.
that's because we use dry rock now, right?
Well,
I mean, I never remember a dino group when we used to have live rock for
yeah.
$5 a pound.
Yeah, no, we had it. Generally, dinoflagellates in the old days appeared when a system became imbalanced. When it, even if it was an old system, if you vacuumed the gravel or you put new live rock in, you would get a bloom of dinoflagellates because the microbiology was disturbed,
Right.
and they like that disturbed environment.
Right.
And dry rock, presents a whole new habitat.
Right.
It's like a disturbed environment.
Right.
But eventually it does become, coralline algae encoded, and then
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're patient,
Yeah.
if you,
It's a 9 month. It could be a 9 month wait.
it can be a while, and not necessarily that long if you're really active on it, and if you inoculate with some live rock, it doesn't take that
That's
long.
true. If you put
If you look at the first product of Two Little Fishies, you know what our first product was?
phosphate reactor.
No, we go back. We
Way
started.
back before that.
Two Little Fishies started in
the
1991.
clip?
No.
Which one? What is it?
It was a video called An Introduction to the Hobby of Reef Keeping. And in that video, I showed dry rock and then the ugly phase. I showed that happening all the way back then. And I actually said, you know what? Just start with live rock. This is, but
Cut it dramatically.
but I sell dry rock now. Stacks is sliced limestone.
Right.
The beautiful thing about dry live rock is you can really create a gorgeous scape, and you don't get mantis shrimp, and you don't have bristle worms. So there's a place for aptasia, all these things,
yeah.
bryopsis,
Right.
all of those things that
Right.
come in with wild live rock.
Right.
So both of them are useful and necessary. But yeah, my first product I had that I showed actually on video what would happen. And at that time, it just seemed to me logical, just use live rock and skip this. But as time went on, I realized, wow, you really have a lot more creative flexibility with the dry
So
rock.
you kind of like,
Yeah.
you're kind of, if you would set up one now, you would do a
Yes.
hybrid. You would scape it dry, but
Yes.
you would add pieces of live rock occasionally.
Yes, I
to
mean even the
for
corals,
biome.
the corals,
The corals
the
themselves,
base
yeah,
have
yeah,
some
right,
all of that
right.
there. So yeah,
Right.
right. The reef aquarium hobby sure took on a lot of bad press when there was live rock being harvested, and frankly, I want to say that the harvest of live rock was pretty much a non-issue conservation-wise. It's a biologically produced, it's on a biological time scale, just
Right.
like the SPS corals. They're growing really quickly.
Right.
But it just didn't look good seeing that mass being taken from the wild. So we've replaced it now with rock that's produced on a geological time scale.
Yep.
I hope people understand that
Yes.
humor. But at least it's not being taken from a
the
reef
ocean,
or
right.
from the ocean.
Right.
But in any case, both are obviously fine. The geological time scale rock is quarried, and this is something that's being done in industry anyway. But we want to consider all of these things. There's also rocks that are produced from consolidated sand, from cement, and put together that way. But
Yep.
of course, the cement is, you can argue on its effect on nature and how it's produced.
Yeah,
There's
for
always
sure, for sure.
some way to look at something positive or negative.
So,
Yeah.
where? Give me a
Yeah.
little bit about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about accuracy. Let's talk about why Two Little Fishies products are so accurate and
Yeah.
and
Well, you have me at the helm.
You get- that's
and
important.
so if we're going to develop something, we want it to be really useful,
Right.
and well made.
I mean
quality.
your salt is really tests well on ICP.
Yes, and it works well in the aquariums.
Yeah.
People,
Right.
we get wonderful feedback from hobbyists when
Right.
they're using it. So that's something that
The refractor calibration solution is spot on.
Spot on. That is made with natural seawater.
Right.
The accuracy seawater reference solution. And I have equipment to adjust it to as close as I am able to 35, and then I bring it to the University of Miami to check, and they get me right where it needs to be. So I know
What do they have at Miami that you don't have? What is
It's
some ultra UV thing or no?
No, it's not UV. It's I think the company is ISL. It measures to multiple. It's 35.000.
It's got multiple decimals.
Decimal, super accurate salinity measuring device
Right.
that they have, and it's about yay big.
and it's right down the block in Miami.
It's in Miami, in the Marine Lab, Erasmus. So I make up a batch of that solution with natural seawater, which comes in at higher than 35. And so given that batch and knowing the measurement, then I know by volume how much RO water I need to add, blend it, and then I can get to 35. And we'll put a sticker on it that says 35.0 something, whatever
Right.
it is. And so it's accurate that way. And
Tell me what other products?
Well,
you got the large. People are very excited about Reborn being
we're
reborn
finally
again.
Reborn again. Yeah, we were able to get CITES to be able to bring that in again, and that's used for calcium
The small
reactors.
stuff actually
Yeah.
clogged up my
Yeah.
sulfur chamber. The second.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's the best we can do. Chemically, it was right, but the size was wrong.
Yeah.
To bring in the larger stuff, we needed to have CITES, and that's just the way
That's
it
it.
is. Yeah, well, other products that are popular, of course, AcroPower for the amino acids for the corals, stony corals, and anemones.
Right.
Revive, which is wonderful for dipping. Among there are lots of dips
Lot
out
of dips.
there, but That's
Revive is the one that smells like lemon juice.
lemon and pine.
Key pie.
Yeah, well, not pine, pine oil.
Oh, pine oil. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Lemon
we
and
started
pine
it
oil.
in
Okay, I
Key
got
West.
it.
Where it was, like the Reese's moment. Yeah,
Right.
we're having a little key lime pie. Yeah, we're almost there, huh? That's it. We'll wrap it up. Well,
Listen, talking with Julian is always a pleasure, and whether he had long hair or this hair or no hair, he has been. I'd say are you a half a generation older than me or a full generation?
in keeping aquariums, I think we're about the same age, right?
I don't know. How old are you?
I'm 58.
Holy shit, we are the same age.
Yeah.
And yet I read your
You
book.
called me old. Did you get that?
We are the same age.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just went right at with those books with Charles.
Yeah. Charles.
Early, young.
Yes.
So we are
Charles
the same age.
is,
So we are the same generation.
Yep, we are.
You still speak to Charles?
I speak to him regularly. Yeah, he's traveling right now in Europe and seeing some wonderful exhibits and spending some nice time with his family.
Very nice.
Very, very close friend and great collaborator on those books. They wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Charles. He pushed me, and I, pushed him a little bit, but he was definitely the inspiration to make it happen.
Certainly.
And he made MACNA happen, in the beginning as well. So really, really important pioneer for our.
By the
hobby.
way, let's sort of sum up.
Yeah.
Where do you think? What do you think's happening to the industry right now? Is the free COVID money, and then I know everybody's new setups are down.
Yeah.
Choral sales, ticket sales. We have 2 shows, maybe 3 shows that are about to go bankrupt.
Right. Well,
What do you think's happening?
what's
Overcrowded,
happening happens.
oversell?
No, what's happening happens in a lot of industries. There's monkey see, monkey do.
Yep.
So if somebody says, "Holy cow, I just sold $6 billion worth of torch corals," then everybody has torch corals in about 5 minutes,
And that saturates the market.
and down goes. So these trade shows, great. Well, let's do some more trade shows. So
Then they get oversaturated.
yeah. So the thing is to really specialize in good, useful, wonderful new things, and not do a lot of me too. So, I mean, sure, if you're a pet store and your customers are asking you to bring something in, you have to, but you have to bear in mind that run is going to last only so long before everybody, has it. So that trend has happened a lot in the hobby, and will continue to do so.
But also, I mean,
The other thing,
prices of frags, and,
right?
and
It's shot up. Yeah.
The for nice stuff, I'd say stuff quadrupled.
So I want to comment. Not only did the prices go up, but you have really a blooming of technology. There's been wonderful, great technology developed in the past 10 years for sure, and
Right.
5 years even more so.
Yep.
The downside of technology development is the message that it sends, that to get into this hobby, you need to invest a lot of money in technology. So it's hard to do, and it costs a lot. And what does that
That
do?
goes from controllers to whatever.
So what does that do? That scares people away.
Right.
And what does that do to the shops? It makes them a display for stuff that nobody's going to buy. So the other trend is to go simpler, easier, lower cost, getting the common frags in a system that doesn't take all that much control, and it can be done.
Yes, it
And
can
so
be done.
I've always been beating that drum from the start to make the hobby simpler. That'll at least keep more people and attract more people.
That's why the
There's-
freshwater crowd is 10x
Sure,
10x
right.
the saltwater.
Absolutely. Now there is room for the technology, and I think it's great. It's been involved in the success of the coral breeding in captivity.
Right.
Technology really
Right.
led to that.
Right.
So, but for shops to be pushing that is sort of shooting themselves in the foot. You need to have it available for the right customer. But what needs to be pushed is the simpler, lower cost, budget
So you think
friendly.
we're in the midst of a small shakeout right now?
A bit, yeah.
And we'll you think we'll recover, or do you
Yes.
think
Yes.
it's going to be one ban after another? And
Well, that's the other thing that's always been like a guillotine over the reef aquarium hobby is the potential for government
Conservation,
banning, banning import as well as banning just the hobby itself, that you cannot keep these pets. And
Right.
there is an anti-pet industry.
yeah, yeah.
So, and for that
They should
reason,
keep that pythons in Florida, not for fish.
yeah, but no, it's something that potentially affects all of us, our hobby, our businesses.
Yeah.
That there are people actively looking to prevent us from doing this, and there is.
I get snide remarks all the time.
Yeah.
Like leave the fish in, like on
Yeah.
my videos.
Well, it's not just that; they actually solicit state government and federal government. So what you can do is join what used to be called PJAC, is now Pet Advisory Network. Look them up online, become a member, and support them because they actively are working to protect fish, birds, reptiles, all
Right.
dogs, cats,
I mean, there
all
was a
pets,
scare there for a
and
while, right?
coral.
When was that scare? 6 months ago?
There are scares, every month or two.
Yeah.
You don't realize it. Behind the scenes, I see it because I am a member, and I do actively participate in. They have an aquatic committee that works on things. So they were very active in helping to push to bring Hawaii back online. For the fish, it will
Are
come
we gonna
back.
see? Are we gonna see?
We
it?
will.
Oh, yellow
Yeah.
tangs. It's
Yes.
at $100 again.
I don't know what price they will be, but it wouldn't be surprising that they're significantly higher than they were
Yeah.
because there's by far fewer collectors.
But will I see
left.
flame wrasses and cross
Yeah.
Australia?
Yeah.
I'll be able to get those again.
Yes, yeah,
Ventralis anthias.
I'm sure. But I can't say when it will happen.
All right, great. And in the meantime, there are other areas that are opening up.
Correct.
Now, like Solomon and other
Yes.
parts of Fiji. So
Yes.
the ball
And-
just keeps rolling.
And the breeding is happening. So
breeding is happening.
So it's all good. I support wild as well as
Right.
breeding, as we all should, because there's a place for both.
For both. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I will see you
Yeah.
in a few hours
At Reefapalooza.
at Reefapalooza.
Thanks, Andrew.
Get that water in those tanks.
We will.
It's the Polo Podcast.